Welcome to all. In this lecture, we will discuss about the methods and the classes in C Sharp. So, here we begin by the explaining how to control access to the members of a class. So, it then discusses the passing and the returning of objects and the method overloading and the various forms of the main and recursion and the use of keywords statics. So first here we discuss about the controlling access to the class member. Um Basically in it supports for the encapsulations. The class provides two major benefits. First, it links data with the code, and it's and the second one is the it provides the means by which access to member can be controlled. So it is this second features that is examined here. So although C Sharp's approach is a bit more sophisticated in sense that there are two basic types of the class members, like the public and the private. So a public member can be freely accessed by the code defined outside of its class, and this is the type of the class member that we have been using up to this point. So a private member can be accessed only by the method defined by its class, and it is through the use of private member that access is controlled. So the restricting access to a class member is a fundamental part of the object oriented programming, because it helps to prevent the misuse of an object. So by allowing access to private data only through a well defined set of methods, so you can prevent improper values from being assigned to that data by preferring a range checks. For example, it is not possible for code outside the class to set the value of a private member directly. You can also control precisely how and when the data within an object is used. So when correctly implemented, a class created a black box. So that can be used, but the inner working of which are not open to tampering. So here we first define some C Sharp's access modifiers. So basically member access control is achieved through the use of four access modifiers: public, private, protected, and the internal. So here we discuss first of all private and the public, and in this point of view we just in internal modifier basically implies mostly to the use of an assembly, which for the C Sharp loosely means a demonstrable program of or the library. So when a member of a class is modified by the public specifier, that a member can be accessed by any other code in your program, and this also include methods defined inside other classes. So when a member of a class is specified, as a private, then that member can be accessed only by other member of its class. So the methods in the other classes are not able to access a private member of the another class. If no access specifier is used, then a class member is private to its class by the default. So the private specifier is optional when creating private class member, and an access specifier precede the rest of the members type specification. So that's it must begin a member's declaration statement. So this is the basic examples of the access specifier as a private. So the understanding the difference between the private and the public, we just look at the example like here. Here basically as you can see inside the my class alpha is specified as private, beta is private by default, and gamma is specified as public. Because alpha and the beta are private, they cannot be accessed by code outside of their class. So therefore inside and the access demo class, inside the demo access class here, so inside the access demo class neither can be used directly. So each must be accessed through the public methods such as set alpha method and the get alpha method. For example, if you were to remove the comment symbols from the beginning of the lines like the object ob.alpha equal 10, so you would not be able to compile this program because of the access violations. So although access to alpha by code outside of the my class is not allowed, and method defined within my class can freely accessed it. So as the set alpha and the get alpha method shows, so the same is true for the beta. Here the key point is this: the private member can be used freely by other member of its class, but it cannot be accessed by code outside its class. So next one is the applying public and the private access. So the proper use of the public and the private access is a key component of the successful object oriented programming. Although there are no hard and the fast rules, but here are some general principles that serve as guidelines. So the guidelines are the members of a class that are used only within the class itself should be private, and the instance data that must be within a specific range should be private, with access provided through the public methods that can perform range checks. And if changing a member can cause an effect that extend beyond the member itself, that member should be private and the access to it should be controlled. And the member that can cause harm to an object when improperly used should be used should be private, and access to these members should be through public methods that prevent improper uses, and many more are there. So the next one is the controlling access case study. So to better understanding the how and the why behind the access control, a case study is useful. So one of a basic example of the object oriented programming is a class that implement a stack. So as you probably know, the stack is a data structure that implements a last in first out list. So its name comes from the analogy of the stack of the plates on a table. So the first plate on the table is the last one to be used. So a stack is a basic example of the object oriented programming because it combines storage for the informations and along with the method that access that information. So basically stack is a data engine that enforces the last in first out uses, and such a combination of is an excellent choice for a class is in which the member that provides storage for the stack are private and the public method provide access. So by encapsulating the underlying storage, it is not possible for the code that uses the stack to access the element out of orders. So basically stack define two basic parameters operations. First one is the push operation and second one is the pop operation. A push puts a value onto the top of the stack and a pop removes the value from the top of the stack. So basically pop is a consumptive once the value has been popped from the stack and it has been removed and cannot be accessed again. For example, create a class called stack that implement a stack and the underlying some storage for the stack is provided by a private array. So the push and the pop operations are available through the public method of the stack class. So the public method enforces the last in first out mechanism, as here we mark that. So the stack class stored characters but the same mechanism could be used to store any type of data. So the stack basically stack array provide the storage for the stacks, so which in this case holds characters. Notice that some no array is allocated, so the allocations of the actual array is handled by the stack constructor. So the toes member hold the index of the top of the stack and both the toes and the stacks members are private. So this enforces the last in first out stack mechanism. So if public access to stack were allowed, then the element on the stack could be accessed out of orders. So also since toes hold the index of the top element in the stack and manipulations of the toes by code outside the stack class must be prevented in order to avoid some corruptions of the stacks. So access to a stack and the toes is available indirectly to the user of the stacks through the various public methods descriptions. So in this form, this is the basic push and pop operations are performed and the is full methods and is empty capacities and the get now methods also implemented in this form. So the here the constructor is passed the desired size of the stack, so it allocate the underlined array and the set toes to 0 like this. So 0 value is toes indicates the stack is empty, and the public push method put the element onto the stack. It is shown here. So the elements to be pushed on the stack onto the stack is passed in the characters. So before the element is added to the stack, the check is made to ensure that there is still room in a underline array. So this is done by the making sure that toes does not exceed the length of the stack. So if there is still room, the element is stored in the stacks at the index specified by the toes, and then toes is increased. So toes always contain the index of the next free elements in the stack. To remove the element from the stack, call the public method pop. Like here, we can call public method pop. So here the value of the toes is checked. If it is 0, the stack is empty. Otherwise toes is decremented and the element at the index is returned. So all the push and the pop are the only method needed to implement a stack, and some others are quite useful, and the stack class defined for more. So these are is full, is empty, capacity and get num, and they provide information about the state of the stack. They are shown here. So is null is full method return true when the stack is full and else otherwise. So the empty is empty method return true when the stack is empty and the false otherwise. And to obtain the total capacity of the stack, that is the total number of the element it can hold, call the capacity. So to obtain the number of the element currently used on the stack, called the getNum. These methods are useful because the information they provide the required access to toes, and which is private. They are also examples of how public methods can provide safe access to the private members. So next one is the pass reference to the method. Basically in the pass reference to the method, it's worked with two forms. In the first way is the call by value, and second one is the second way an argument can be passed by the call by reference. So here is the example of first one is the example of the passed by the value. So here we first identify or some describe the how arguments are passed. So as the last we have discussed, passing an object reference to a method is a straightforward task. So however there are some nuance that the example did not shows. So in certain cases the effect of the passing reference types will be different than those experienced when passing a value type. To see why, let's review to the two ways in which the arguments can be passed to a subroutine. So the first way is the call by value. So this method copy the value of an argument into the formal parameters of the routing. So therefore changes made to the parameter of this subroutine have no effect on the arguments used in the call. So the second way an argument can be passed is the call by reference, and in this method basically a reference to an argument, not the value of the argument, is passed to the parameter. So inside the subroutine this reference is used to access the actual arguments specified in the call, and this means that the changes made up the parameter will affect the arguments used to call the subroutine. And by default C# use call by value, which means that the copy of the argument is made and given to the receiving parameters. So when you pass a value type such as integer or the double, so what occurs to the parameter that receive the argument has no effect outside the methods. So in this example, as you can see, the operations that occur inside the no changes have no effect on the value of a and b used in the calls. So again this is because copy of the value of a and b have been given to parameters I and j, but a and b are otherwise completely independent of the I and j. So the assigning I a new value will not affect a. So when you pass a reference to a method, the situation is a bit more complicated. In this case the reference itself is still passed by value. So a copy of the reference is made and the changes to the parameter will not affect the arguments. And recall that when you create a variable of the class type, you are only creating a reference to the object. So when you pass this reference to a method, the parameter that receive it will refer to the same object as that referred to by the arguments. So the argument and the parameter will both refer to the same objects. This means that the objects are passed to method by what is effectively called by reference, and the changes to the object inside the method do affect the object used as an argument. So this is the example of the passed by the reference. This is the whole example. So as you can see in this example, this action inside the changes have affected the object used as an argument. So to review, when a reference is passed to a method, the reference itself is passed by use of the call by value, and a copy of that reference is made. So a copy of that reference will still refer to the same object as its corresponding argument. So this means that the objects are implicitly passed using the call by reference. So next one is the use RAF and the out parameters. So in this, as just explained, value type such as int or char are passed by the value to a method. So this means that the changes to a parameter that receive a value type will not affect the actual arguments used in the call. So you just before going into the mechanism of using REF and the out, it is useful to understand why you might want to pass a value type by the reference. So in general, we can say that there are two reasons: to allow a method to alter the contents of its arguments, or to allow a method to return more than one value. So now here in the detail we just discussed it. So often you will want a method to be able to operate on the actual arguments that are passed to it. So the basic example of this is a swap method that exchange the value of its two arguments. So since value types are passed by the value, and it is not possible to write a method that swap the value of two int. And for example, using C# default call by value parameter passing mechanism. So the REF modifier solve this type of the problems. So as you know, the return statement enables a method to return a value of its caller, and a method can return only one value each time it is called. So what if you need to return two or more piece of information? For example, what if you want to create a method that decompose a floating point number into its integer and the fractional parts? So to do this require that two piece of the information be returned, the integer portions and the fractional components. So this method cannot be written using only a single return values. So here the problem resolved by the out modifier. So here first one is the use REF, and the REF parameter modifier calls some C# to create a call by reference rather than call by value. So the REF modifier is simplified when the modify method is declared and when it is called. So let's start with some basic simple examples, like the program create a method called the square roots sqr that return in place the squares of its integer arguments. Just noted that the use and the placement of the REF. So this is the basic example. Here that the REF precedes the entire parameters declarations in the method, and that is precedes the arguments when the method is called. So the output from this program shows like the confirm that the value of the arguments a was indeed modified by the square roots. So before the value value a is the 10, and after the perform some operations value of the a is the 100. So using REF, it is now possible to write a method that exchange the value of its two value type argument. For example, if we use some swap method, so in the swap method, basically one important point to understand about the REF: argument passed by the reference must be assigned a value prior to the call. So the reason is that the method that receive such an arguments assumes that the parameters refers to valid value. So using the REF, you cannot use a method to give an argument and initial values. So next one is the use of out. Sometimes you will want to use a reference parameter to receive a value from a method but not pass in the value. Maybe you might have a method that performs some functions such as opening a network sockets and the return a success fail code in the reference parameter. So in this case, there is no information to pass into the method, but there is information to pass back out. So the problem with this scenario is that a REF parameter must be initialized to a value prior of the call, and to use our arrayf parameter would require giving an argument, a dummy value just to satisfy this constraint. So Shisha provide a better alternatives, the out parameter. Here an out parameter is similar to our ref parameter with this one exceptions. So it can only be used to pass a value out of a method. It is not necessary to give the variable used as an out parameter an initial value prior to calling the method. So the method will give the variable a value, and inside the method the out parameter is considered unassigned, that is it is assumed to have no initial value, and this implies that the method must assign the parameter a value prior to the method terminations. So after the call to the method, an out parameter will contain a value. So here is the example that the uses an out parameter in the class decompose. The get parts method decompose a floating point number into its integer and fractional parts. So this is the example. Here get parts method return two pieces of the information. First, the integer portion of the n is returned as get parts return value, and the second, the fractional portion of n is passed back to the caller through the out parameter fraction. So as this the example shows, by the using out it is possible for the method to return two values.